United Nations Security Council, PRC is engaged in massive nuclear buildup as a counter to the US. Often, Russia demonstrates threat of use of nuclear weapon in Ukraine rather than disarmament. It has also walked out of CTBT. Now, that is the state of the permanent members of the Security Council, which is supposed to discuss things and bring peace in this unsettled world. Like coming closer now, Iran is nuclear threshold, very close to nuclear threshold. Thus, early signs of cascade proliferation are visible in the West Asia or Middle East, as they call it. And this has been also mentioned Walter Russell Mead, a former editor-in-chief of Wall Street Journal. He said, there is no meaningful attempt to address issues of development of hypersonic missile, cyber attacks, biological weapon, and space-based weapons through multilateral institutions of the UN. Any attempt to constrain North Korea's nuclear program, it seems to be compromised with the signaling by Mr. Kim's visit to Russia. As this threat intensifies, the voters in South Korea have favored development of nuclear weapons by a vast majority. So you can see that rather than capping the nuclear weapons, it's only going to increase. In weak states of Latin America, narco trafficking crime organizations have either infiltrated or supplanted themselves into the ruling apparatus of those countries. Similar things are happening in Sahel, where bandits and jihadist groups are openly defying authority of the shambolic governments. I don't say symbolic, shambolic governments. Western countries are hardly responding to these security threats, where Russia, China, and Iran are fishing in troubled waters. This is, I'm talking about the African continent. These three countries are more than active, and none of the Western world is actually doing anything. There has been a virtual collapse of French power across Africa, and it has been really dramatic, led by coup across all the Central African belt. If you look up the map, you'll find right across every country in the Central Africa zone has undergone a coup and military is taken over. States seem to be imploding and rule of law disappearing across large parts of the world. As far as the world's numero uno power, that is USA, is concerned, it is threatened by relentless and powerful adversaries outside and undermined by political dissidents and institutional decay from within in the US. And this is what Walter Russell Mead has to say. The rule-based international order has not been in this imperiled condition since 1930s. And he is now at Hudson Institute as a distinguished fellow. Also, let me tell you that, in order to go through this entire year's chaos, we saw that the APEC summit culminating at San Francisco, where President Biden tried to reset ties with PRC, which has deteriorated to its nadir. The only two tangible affirmative discussions seems to be the re-establishment of military-to-military strategic communication and Chinese affirmation to controlling the fentanyl supply to Latin America and finally into the US. Also, there was 4 days truce for release of hostages from both sides in Israel and Gaza. Will this truce last? Well, it has not happened so far, and there is another attempt to bring some truce so that the people injured and people who are in various prisons, they can be released. There is no sign of halting the massacre in Gaza. Earlier, the truce was broke by Qatar. We are witnessing decline of multilateral organization. Each country seems to be working for its own. Can you imagine UN sitting quiet and another country is brokering peace between two countries? So, having navigated through the world geopolitical landscape, ladies and gentlemen, let us examine how has 2023 been for India and which way are we headed? Well, before I come to that, let me also mention that in support of the Hamas, the radical organization Houthi, who are controlling about 70% of Yemen, which has been in turmoil for many years now, they have started attacking either by missiles or by drone missile attacks onto the merchant vessels which are doing an innocent passage in Red Sea and Arabian Sea, going on to mind their own business. So global commons have been hit very hard. Indian Navy has taken it upon itself that they are beginning to board these ships, prevent hijacking of two, three ships. You would have seen some videos. It has also taken the ships which have been damaged by those missile attacks or drone attacks into their custody and brought them to safe places. If it required repair, into the Indian shipyards, or if it was all right, then the crew were handed over the ship after chasing the pirates away and prevented many hijacks which could have resulted in large sums being asked for ransom. I don't know where is this ransom money going, but Houthi attack and piracy beginning about the same time, it tells you some story that it is quite possible that hijack ransom is going to funding of terror financing of these terror groups. But I wouldn't like to make any big statement on that. Post World War II, the world split into two well-defined divisions of free world led by USA, another bloc led by communist USSR. India chose to be non-aligned. Just give me a minute. Just The mic. Can I be heard? Can you hear me, Doctor? Okay, but I don't see anybody on the screen. Okay. Right. Just few minutes, 1 or 2 minutes. So does it mean whatever I have said, does it mean that there are no speed breakers on India? Not really. We have to work hard on our Human Development Index, which is quite low, 132 out of 191 listed countries by the UNDP. And this list is led by Switzerland, Norway, and Iceland. When it comes to per capita income, ladies and gentlemen, India ranks very low to a position of 120, which is roughly $8,379 at the purchasing power parity. China is at 72 with $21,476 at the PPP terms. Just to give you an idea, US with $76,399 is at number 8. Luxembourg, Singapore, and Iceland are on the top 3 slots. And this disparity will keep living standards at middle or below middle income for quite some time for us. Therefore, economic development and its distribution at grassroots becomes a priority for any government. Life expectancy, we are at 126th position with 72.03 years, and it is led by Hong Kong, which has got a life expectancy of 85.83 years. The world average is 73.4, of which the females live longer and males live lesser, 70.8 years. These figures call for better and widespread healthcare and sanitation. Should be all working for. We are headed in that direction. So I have finished. Thank you very much for your patience, and I am ready to try and answer your questions which you may have. Thank you, Jai.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Now we can have a lot of time for the question answer, and I request each of you to clarify your doubts. So let me start with my question, sir. You started with the world disorder with the United Nations organizations labeling it as very rightly as a perennial underperformer, and then the Doha, the narco criminals, the Doha roundup talks failure, RCI in Africa, I think the Russia, China, Iran axis. So my point is that what do you think about the one or two important reasons for this world in disorder? Why I'm asking you this question, sir? You must have seen that even in Europe, in Netherlands, a right-wing prime minister is elected, and in even Donald Trump is also performing well as far as the second nomination is concerned. So are we heading towards more democracy or towards autocracy, or what kind of things, why the world is in disorder? So that will be my first question. And in this disorder or chaotic situations, how you see opportunities for India?
Okay. Let me address the first question first. Important question, and it must hunt the minds of every intelligent and sort of far-thinking citizens in our country. I would think that because of this disorder, the general sense amongst people is that the governance is not strong. The leaders are not ready or not taking tough decisions, and they are taking populist, wanting to remain popular amongst the larger mass. And therefore, they are voting for an extreme right tendency leaders with the hope that they will take very strong decisions and then there will be some order in this disorder. As you can see, that the terrorism, human migration, economic migration, and thereafter the claims. Once you migrate into a new country, then you claim your own area, and that is based on your maybe your religion, which is absolutely unacceptable to the people who live there. So I would think you give two names. Yes, you're right, Donald Trump, and it appears that if he clears all this primary, he might even overcome the court case which is going on. Netherlands, you did make a mention, and there have been very open statements. If you go to Hungary, same thing has happened. If you go to Italy, the same thing is happening. And well, many countries. If it is one extreme, you can see China has gone in one extreme. You see Russia has gone one extreme. You see the Iranians, you see the North Korea, whichever side, left or right, they're all extreme. So they find that as extreme leaders, they are maintaining some better discipline in their own country. For example, China, for Russia, all said and done, within their own country, they're managing the chaos, whereas most of the countries are having chaotic situation within the country. And I mentioned, including America, there's a lot of chaos within, and it is an election season. And let us say both very big democracy, the oldest democracy and the largest democracy are going to have the elections to their for one presidential, and India it is for the parliament. So we choose the prime minister. So I think external threat, some kind of participation in threats which are not created within their own country. For example, Israel and Hamas. For example, Russia and Ukraine. So the Western world has taken it upon themselves that it is a fight against democracy, and they are spending a lot of money, billions and trillions of dollars are going, and India is not participating in all this. Even you see the Houthis attack in the Red Sea area. India has not joined the coalition forces, but India is doing much better job by preventing any hijacking in the entire Arabian Sea, which is nearly 1,500 kilometers wide. And it has also helped the people, the countries who are just busy in doing their own trade and commerce, taking them to safe places and sending them where they belong to. You take the problem which is happening, Russian oil. India is steered clear. He says, sorry, I will buy from wherever I find my people can afford. So all these things have been taken very well by the world. Initially, it was a little bit of unhappiness, but I think under Prime Minister Modi's leadership, India is steering a very balanced course, and it has got a big opportunity diplomatically, economically, militarily, that India has all the chance, and to become, in this bipolar or unipolar world, it is going to collapse. The new international order seems to be emerging. India is not going to be in any bipolar construct. India is now, it looks that India has its own strategic autonomy, and it is steering a course which is away from these two people. It has got equally good equation with the West and not bad equation with the Russian and the Chinese group. We haven't said anything officially. We are member of BRICS, we are member of SCO, we are member of RIC. So these are some of the points which which tells the whole world. Prime Minister Modi has got 76% approval rating in the world. So I think that we are on the right track, and we will be a pole by ourselves in this multipolar construct.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Mr. Bravo is a MTech student from Uganda. Bravo, you have probably you have raised your hand. Have you any question? Bravo, please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Yes. Yes, sir. Yes, a very good evening to all. My name is John Bravo Moronji, and I'm a Ugandan national international student in SOA University at ITR College. So mine is more of an inquiry, sir. I would like eminent sir to kindly shed more light on how basically, sir, you envision India's role basically in fostering international cooperation and addressing the global challenges amidst the current state of disorder in the world. Like basically your envision, like how you see India's role in that, sir. Thank you.
We can take one more question, Dr. Nachiketa.
Yes, sir. Oh, so you can combine the questions. Am I correct, sir?
Yeah.
Sir, yes, Nirupama Saha. Nirupama Saha, please ask your question. You unmute yourself and ask your question. Nirupama Saha.
Nirupama Saha, please unmute yourself. You are muted.
Nirupama Saha, please unmute yourself. Please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Okay, in that case, I will take on Mr.
Bravo's question. Bravo's question, sir.
Again, a question which may not have set answers because we are actually groping into the period of uncertainties, which is the future, right? But I'll make an attempt as to where do we see India's role. I think the G20 leadership and inviting African Union, including African Union to G20, it only indicates that India has the ability to generate an atmosphere of cooperation. And you know, there is a saying in Sanskrit. It says Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam. What it means is that whole world is a family. If that is the attitude of our Prime Minister, stated policy of the country, then I think that wherever there are trouble, for example, India is one country which has been fighting for African Union as far as the climate change is concerned, as far as the meeting the requirements of carbon pollution is concerned, carbon credit. Otherwise, the West was going berserk. They were wanting the less developed countries to reduce carbon signature, whereas they are fully developed in the process that all carbon is already existing around the world. So therefore, Prime Minister Modi spoke on that forum and he said, look, you cannot be so unfair. Let's not have an unfair world. Let's have a fair world. And therefore, he has set a target, and everybody has been allowed to set their own target. Otherwise, they were going by one target for all, which is not sort of fair. So that is one area where you see what has happened. Then, as far as the world trade is concerned, the maritime trade, the Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam, the world is one, has been demonstrated in this Houthi attack on the merchant ships. I must tell you that 70% of world is water, and nearly 78-80% of the world's trade is transiting over water, and they are being hit, meaning that it will hit the people in those countries where this trade is, destination is, and therefore Indian Navy has been protecting not only Indian ships, any ship which is under threat. So that is a contribution to the world, to the shipping of the world, so that they can exercise their right of innocent passage. So these are two very important things. One is economy, and one is the climate and carbon, which is hurting the world. Also, India is helping the big powers in shifting the supply chain to many countries, so that if the other countries can also keep manufacturing those items and manufacturing does not come to halt, which is one of the reasons of, one of the ingredients of progress. So that is one. You see the COVID vaccine. The moment we started making, India has supplied vaccine to 76 countries without asking. Most of them are gratis, free of cost. Some countries have bought it. Most countries in Africa, the Indian government has supplied it. You see anywhere, if there is any disaster, earthquake, flood, you will find that the Indian assistance will reach there first before anybody else. Even to the countries with whom we may be having slightly strained relationship. For example, with Turkey, we don't have very, bonhomie. But when the earthquake took place, the first support came from India. All relief material were flown from India to Turkey. So what I'm saying is that also, as far as the Mr. Putin and Zelensky is concerned, Mr. Modi has spoken to Mr. Putin personally, saying that this is no era of war. The declared policy. This is not the time to fight. It is time to come together and grow and face the challenges which is facing the whole world. Don't create a problem for yourself. So I think that, these are the areas where I can say that India has generated both economic cooperation, military cooperation. India has been giving training to almost 35-40 countries militarily. In defense production, India has started exporting the defense equipment so that people can take care of themselves, particularly countries which are not so well-to-do. Also, it's been gifting wherever possible. Let's not forget that India is also a developing country. It doesn't have a big GDP. It's just about $3.76 trillion, which is quite low, really. So I would say that India has all the ability and it has got the wherewithal. It may not be able to do some large expenditure, but it can any of these countries to build their capacities. I hope I have given you some answer, Mr. Bravo.
Bravo.
Yes, surely,
Yeah.
sir.
Okay.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. There is a question from Abhishek Patnaik, who was an OTEX 23 intern in the National Maritime Foundation. How do you see India's role in the Middle East in near future? Because the Middle East is currently the most violent region in the world.
Well, Abhishek, you've been to NMF, so I can only say that you understand all this very well. Firstly, we don't call it Middle East, we call it West Asia because it is west of us. The Western countries call it Middle East. That is one difference.
Yes.
So I will carry on saying West Asia. Now, the West Asian problem is historic and does not seem to be dying down. But in the recent past, there has been some rapprochement, Iran and Saudi, not so much Israel. Israel was also coming on track. But this Hamas attack has actually derailed it a little bit. But I am quite certain that India is possibly the only country which is respected by all these people, and it can talk to all kinds of all varieties, all colors of the religions in the West Asia, whether it is Jews, which is Israel, whether it is the Shias in Iran and the neighboring country, where it is Saudi Arabia and UAE in this side of Gulf, the Sunni world. So I think that, and let me also tell you that India is not sitting quiet right now. Otherwise, if India did not have this, what is called the political and diplomatic heft, it could not have got those 8 Indian naval officers, retired officers, released from Qatar who were on death sentence. So it just goes to show how much value these countries give to India. And rightly so, India is walking a very tight rope. It's not easy. So I would think that India can play a role diplomatically. Firstly, by it is also helping to possibly have a ceasefire in Gaza. India's effort also led to opening of some of the areas where the relief material go to Gaza. So I think all in all, our ships are coming, they're operating from the Gulf. The energy security has been ensured. They have gone, our external affairs minister went to Iran when the Houthis started attacking any ships and every ship in the Red Sea. Our foreign minister has been to Iran and had a very long talk with their foreign minister. And after that, we have not seen any sort of Houthi attack or maybe some other kind of attack, at least not on the Indian ship. And overall, there has been some reduction. Indian government is talking to both sides. We don't talk to the terrorist organization, but we talk to the countries who have seem to have some influence on this organization. So we are doing that constantly. It's diplomacy is a very long drawn process, but India is well placed, very well placed. But as you know, where the US and the West is involved and NATO is involved, India doesn't believe that this military power should be used to sort out this problem. We don't have any expansionist approach. We have our own problem with PRC on the borders and maybe at sea. You see what is happening to Maldives. You see how they have come to Sri Lanka. So while tackling our own problems, India is also ensuring that other countries who have to deal with the Gulf countries, they are being taken care of and they are being protected in case any terror groups carry out any attack on them or they want to hijack them. In UN, India has a good position. India has been asking for becoming the permanent member of the Security Council. Let's see when it happens. It will happen, but it might take a little bit time. It's not going to be very easy. So I think G20 leadership has shown our leadership qualities and how many countries are following it. And now you can see Prime Minister's visit to Qatar and his equation with UAE. UAE, the Emir came personally to receive him at the airport, which is normally not done. So it has got a stature. And I think that is being gradually used at slow pace. But that is what everything has to be done a little bit slowly.
Thank you, sir. One last questions maybe I request you to take. Of course, out of curiosity, just I am asking. It is a very conscious decision on our in the initial stage of our freedom movement, the kind of diplomacy that we adopted, neither aligning with the NATO or nor aligning with the Warsaw, but creating a group of non-alignment that has helped India's diplomatic stature in West Asia and also in Africa. Because why I am asking you this question, I have visited a lot of countries of Africa and I have seen the kind of capital, Chinese capital being pumped into in their either in road building or airport, sea, everything, vis-a-vis the Indian capital. But still, I think we enjoy a better kind of confidence from the Africans and the West Asians as far as the Chinese and all others are concerned. I think that initial approach of that non-alignment has played a role, hopefully, I think.
So you're right, Dr. Nachiketa. I fully agree with you. You see, when we came out of the colonization, when we got decolonized, the country was having a lot of poverty. Number one. The second thing was that we had missed the bus of the Industrial Revolution. That is one thing the British did not give you, is the benefits of Industrial Revolution. And therefore, we had to leapfrog. At the same time, people have to be made worthy of working. And the government rightly chose to remain non-aligned so that we don't spend our money in only building arms and ammunition at that time, which was not the requirement. The idea was to lift our people out of poverty. And I think that has helped because it has also given you the reputation of being very, very human friendly, people friendly government, helpful government with whatever you can. And today, how it is paying off, because that reputation has been carried forward by various governments, not necessarily only one party. They can have a difference in opinion as far as ideology is concerned, but the foreign policy of India has not changed. It is, instead of saying that we are non-aligned, we are saying that we are aligned on issues. Okay, because now a time has come when we have to get some technology, we have to become Atmanirbhar. All these are happening at a time when, if you are aligned to anybody particularly, then you could have been denied all this. Even now, nobody has denied. America thinks about denying because we are talking to Russians. But then we have made it understand to them that, look, because you did not give us weapons at particular time, we had to go to Russia or USSR. And we have a lot of legacy items which I have to maintain. I can't just change everything overnight. But don't forget, we are $3.76 trillion economy, and China is, 5 times more. So obviously they have deep pockets. And what they're doing in your neighborhood in Africa, they're pumping a lot of money, yes. But all those countries are aware how a debt trap has been created in Sri Lanka, how a debt trap will be created by them in other countries who have not woken up, whereas India offers a very soft loan, transparent loan, and they're all doing this, and that is why India is a preferred economic and security partner by the rest of the world. We are not in any group, but yet we represent G20, which is a non-aligned group. These are the group which is going to put India in a leadership role by very large number of countries. So in this given circumstances, I think that the Indian government, the Indian foreign policy, India's military, India's economy, we are all on right track. And I think it is gradually moving to a better, more leadership position. And I think that in the multipolar world, India will emerge as one of the poles which does not believe in fight, which believes in prosperity of people, friendship of people, and doing trade for the sake of development and improving the per capita income of countries who are very poor.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Actually, I must be indebted to you very much in clarifying one of my very perennial doubt that where people in a democratic setup sometimes guided towards extremism. The very reason is sometimes the undesired weakness in a democracy, as you have very rightly suggested, leading to a lot of chaos and disorder, which normally a peace-loving and working people doesn't like. So he doesn't have any choice. And moreover, India doesn't have an expansionist policy in 3000s of his history. So rather, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, the kind of peace and prosperity for everybody. So that has given, we may be slow, we don't have a very large, may not be a very large economy, but we still have a very good standing. At least we are very close to the people of the world, and we have a respect, and people will listen to us. So that is a very important lesson, and on that we can build up and hope to see that India will have its place in the UN Security Council also as a permanent member, and more things will be on the anvil as far as India is concerned. And I am extremely happy, privileged, thankful, and grateful that you have accepted my personal invitation and has agreed to speak on this topic. And I will request you, because we are going to publish it as a book sometimes in May, I will request you to contribute it or prepare it as a book chapter. With these words, on behalf of the university, I am extremely grateful to you, sir. Thank you very much. Namaskar.
Thank you, Dr. Nachiketa Sharma. I am really humbled by all the good things you have said. It is only an attempt by a student like me who's learning political science, international relation every day to share some of my thoughts. I'm learning every day. Every day it's a new thing. Every day there are new ideas. And I hope that I have been able to reach out to people who are in the audience. I hope I have been able to clarify some of the answers. As I said, that it is world is not black and white. It is not that this side is good, that side is bad. Because everybody has freedom of speech, freedom of this, freedom of expression. So we say anything we feel like. We do anything any way that we feel like. You go and sit on dharna, you go and sit on the roadside, you block the road, you block the railway. The ills of democracy. But then we have all chosen democracy for ourselves because we believe that in spite of all this, it is better to have freedom of expression where people should be able to speak their mind. So let us pick up the good things and see how we can take this world in a safer direction. Idea is to have peace, as Dr. Nachiketa said. Thank you for listening with patience and my namaskar, and God bless you. Maintain good health and remain happy.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you. Namaskar. The meeting is over now.